Oh, for shame! Just look at your fingernails. My, I'll bet you monsters lead interesting lives. Now let's dip our patties in the water.
It's a first-person survival horror game, developed by Red Barrel Studio. It's effectively the video game equivalent of a found footage film, and it's the story of a reporter investigating the dark goings-on at a mental asylum who discovers there's much more horror occurring than he ever could have anticipated.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime gal.
The game is tense, terrifying, and repulsive all at the right times. The graphics are really quite good and fit perfectly with the tone of the game. The dialogue and voice acting are great across the board, from terrified madness to devilishly sinister, and the plot moves along organically, resulting in something quite interesting and unique for the horror genre. The enemies aren't all that smart and are quite easily outwitted. The game doesn't really deal with organic scares too well, and it's maybe a little too heavily scripted, and it does sometimes push the limits of believability even for this kind of game. I feel that Outlast may have single-handedly rejuvenated the horror genre in video games. Coming out a year before the oft-imitated playable teaser for the ill-fated Silent Hills, Outlast was in the enviable position of being wholly unique and a new take on a classic premise. The game may start off by having you chased around by hatchet-wielding terrors, but soon it transforms into more of a psychological horror, not just jump-scaring the player, but putting them in horrifying situations where you know very well what is about to happen, but you're just powerless to do anything about it. Finally, it takes on a sci-fi horror bent towards the end, which departs it from the rest of the game but brings everything together at the same time. Some of the big bad enemies you have to escape from feel more like roadblocks of an actual threat sometimes, with encounters beyond their scripted sequences feeling empty and frustrating after several failed escape attempts. Ultimately, Outlast can be considered almost a walking simulator in the way it presents its story through heavily scripted sequences. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, because unlike so many other so-called horror games, it is not just scary but deeply unsettling. This is definitely a must for any horror fan, but so is a new pair of clean trousers for anyone who chooses to play it.